All right, in this video, I'm going to tell the story about a friend's escape from the custody of the corrupt Chinese police, breaking out of escaping from handcuffs, slipping out the side door of their interrogation, calling a friend, catching a plane, and escaping on a plane before the evil Chinese corrupt police could take him down, and now becoming a literal fugitive from China. And I'm going to break the whole thing down right now in a story. So, all right, my name is Gavin. Let's talk about this right now. So this weekend, this Christmas, I had a great trip over to Las Vegas, and a friend of mine, he called me up, said he was going to go to Las Vegas, and I thought, and I asked him, I said, well, why the heck aren't you going to China? This is a friend of mine, S-Crypt, Xiaowei. And he goes, well, I'm not going to China because, it's just not safe over there. His family had already gone, to China where they were going to spend Christmas together and have their little family thing that we're going to do every year. But so he decided not to go because it wasn't safe because of what just happened to, let's call him Germo for privacy purposes, because I don't want. I told him I wouldn't release his name and his identity on this on my channel. So let's call him Germo. For what just happened to Germo, S-Crypt couldn't go. So here's the story. So all right. So first of all, this guy Germo is a Bitcoin OG, dude. This guy has, when it comes to the history of Bitcoin, he has been an influential and inspirational part of some of the most important moments in Bitcoin history. So he's well known, and he's a well-known historical figure. So I'm definitely going to keep him anonymous because people who know him definitely know him, and they know the stories. So for his own privacy, I'm not going to bring it up. But ultimately, he has done some incredible things in Bitcoin history that are just unimaginable. It's just amazing pieces of history of things that he's done and influence that he's had. So he's also happened to be well known as a Bitcoin miner too. Well-known Bitcoin miner. So definitely something that the Chinese government doesn't like, because over the last few years they got rid of Bitcoin mining out there. So he's being a good little person, good little citizen. He stopped his Bitcoin mining operation in China, and he obeyed the laws. But he also started getting into other Bitcoin. When I'm talking about the original Bitcoin projects, I'm talking about like Bitcoin SV projects, and building out the expanding Bitcoin and his vision of what he believes is peer-to-peer cash for the world, and how it's going to change the world for the better, where we have more transparency. So he stayed committed to that vision. While now more recently getting into what the Chinese government, I guess, would call, questionable activity, because they can't control it for tax purposes. All right. So, and as a Bitcoin whale or crypto whale, mind you, they know that he's got a lot of Bitcoin. He's had history of mining, and he's on their whale target list. So even though he hasn't been charged, hasn't done anything wrong, hasn't violated any laws, he flies back into China. This is about this would have been I think it was December 12th, December 15th, just recently. And he gets stopped at the border entering back into China. Now, he's coming from the U.S. going into China. He gets held, and he gets thrown into an interrogation room, all right? And it wasn't just a regular interrogation with some government officials with suits and jackets and, badges and everything. It was actual police in street clothing, and these police in street clothing ended up, cuffing him and bringing him into a hotel room, and they said, sit down right there. And he looks around, and there's nowhere to sit. So they told him to sit down on the floor like a dog. They said, sit down there. He has to sit down, like, I guess, on his all like Indian style, start answering questions. And they said, tell us about your Bitcoin. What's the deal with your crypto? Where do you keep all this stuff? Because we've heard some things about you, and we have some information about you. We're doing an investigation. We want to know more. And so he complied. He was he was super compliant. He had his laptop with him, and they said, well, how do we get access to your laptop? And he had a laptop with him, which was not actually, it was just like a phony traveling laptop with no information on it, just a blank laptop. For security purposes, he didn't have his main devices with him. So he gave it to him. He's like, oh yeah, here's my password. Go ahead and access the laptop and get anything you want out of it. So he gave it to him, and their little tech team said, well, we found some empty wallets with some Bitcoin, 0 Bitcoin in it. What's up with that? He's like, well, I'm just doing the best I can to comply. So eventually they wanted to get his cell phone as well. I said, well, how do we access your cell phone? And he's like, oh, well, that's private information, and I've got some personal private photos on there that I don't think will be too friendly. It would be better to keep it private. And while I'm doing everything I can to comply and give you what you want, I'd rather not share my private photos on my cell phone with you. So hopefully, you can respect that. So he was super nice, super compliant. Now, this is a guy who graduated from the top school in China, the elite level, of the top 1/10 of 100% of all, people out there. So he has a great reputation, and never been in jail or custody or anything like that. So it's not. So he continues talking to these corrupt government Chinese officials. They weren't even officials; they were just corrupt cops from China, and entertaining them. While he's realizing that it's this actually is not an official interrogation for crime. He's starting to realize that this is just corrupt Chinese cops who want to get his Bitcoin, and they want to get money from him so that they can let him go. So he plays along with the whole thing, and he tires them out, eventually wears them out after 12 hours or so of questioning, of being super nice. Here he is cuffed and, down on the ground. Just nowhere to sit. Eventually he tires them out, and they fall asleep or they leave, and he gets a chance. And he realized that his cuffs were on tight, but they weren't tight, vein popping tight. It was tight enough to where he was able to start to kind of, while they were getting tired, he was able to pop it. He has kind of skinny arms, very skinny hands and wrists, so his hands were small and flexible. And so he was able to somehow either dislocate his hand and pop it out through the cuff right here and slip it out through one of the cuffs in there. So he's got one cuff on, one hand free. And now he gets out, he slips out of the room while they're not looking, and he'd been planning this. He said he'd been planning this the entire time. He's like, So he kind of witnessed the whole situation. He's he's going to wait. He's going to be really good. He's going to be extremely cooperative. And at the right, because he noticed when they cuffed him, it was tight, but not too tight. He felt like he might have the opportunity to slip out of it. He could dislocate his wrist and pop it out, and basically get his hand out. So at the right time, he popped his hand out of the cuffs, slips out of the room, calls a friend who picks him up and transports him to another airport. Now, forgive my, gringo American ways, because I don't know the cities in China, but, I don't know what city this was, but one of the big Chinese cities, transfers him to another Chinese city. Now, mind you, he wasn't on the Chinese most wanted list. So he wasn't a wanted fugitive. These are just corrupt cops who stopped him at the border wanting money. They just want crypto from him. All right. So he's able to go to the next Chinese city while they're still sleeping, and they haven't missed him yet. And he books a flight to Thailand. Now, he gets out because he wasn't on the wanted list. He hadn't violated any laws. There wasn't no warrant for him. He gets over to Thailand. By the time he flies into Thailand now these corrupt Chinese cops, they actually put a little thing on them. What they did was they forged a document to say that he bailed out, say that he's missing now on bail. And he bailed out. He never bailed out. He escaped. Okay, so first of all, he escaped. So, but now there's this thing they put in their little international system of whatever it was in Thailand, to where the Thailand police now recognized it, and they saw that China wanted him back, and so he gets there, and he negotiates now with the corrupt Thailand police, and the corrupt Thailand police, he negotiates for $30,000 USD, $30,000 USD to not send him back to China. and let him fly to Dubai. So after, I don't know how much negotiating, a couple hours negotiating, he finally settles for a $30,000 USD. They didn't want Bitcoin over there, but they wanted US dollars. And so he gave him the 30,000 USD. I guess it was in a wire. I don't know how, but whatever it was. And now he was able to go from Thailand over to Dubai. And Dubai, he was clear. So by the time he got to Dubai, he booked a flight out to SFO, arrived in SFO, and basically they booked him as like he was out on bail, but he never was out on bail. So it's not safe for him to go back there, or any of these crypto guys, Bitcoin guys, to even go back into China, because this is the pattern that they're showing right now of how corrupt the government is. And it's funny, it's not even the government, it's corrupt cops. So while Germo was planning on spending time there in China with his family, he has a son, he has a son and a wife there for Christmas. Really, here we go to Vegas, and we're going to celebrate out there in Las Vegas instead. And so the same thing happens with Xiaowei from Escrypt, because like he ends up realizing the problem, and he's like, dude, I'm not going to China. I mean, he's already probably on their target list for being a Bitcoin guy, and now they're targeting these people. So ultimately, we've got this corrupt Chinese cops that are just detaining people because they're whales, potential whale, and he's got a lot of Bitcoin, and they want in on the action. They want you to just fork it over to be released, and they start interrogating people, and this is how they do business out there now. So talk about total freaking corruption to the max. I mean, not even safe to travel out there in China if you're under this communism, this total communist regime. It just makes me appreciate free speech and our first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, amendments of the Constitution. I mean, Seventh Amendments, all the amendments of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights that we have to really, and how to, as long as we know how to enforce these rights, we have these rights. But if we don't know our rights and know how to enforce them, we have no rights out here either. So don't think that the same thing's not going to happen out here in the U.S. To people, unless you know your rights and you know how to enforce your rights. All right, that's why it's so important to know your rights and know what to do about it when your rights are being stomped on and trampled on like they are in China, because they want to do that same thing out here. But ultimately, now here he is back in the Bay Area and totally a free man out here, and he's on a visa. So he's got, I don't know, 3 months or so in the U.S. to where he can navigate, do whatever he's going to do before he decides what his next move is going to be. So he hired an attorney out there in China, and he's trying to negotiate with these corrupt Chinese cops to figure out what the heck to do and expose their corruption. So, it's a real life. This is a real life fugitive story from China. No joke. Bitcoin OG, a super important dude in the history of Bitcoin. And, once it all settles, I'd like to get him on and we can hear from him directly and hear the story. So it was a blast, though, in Vegas. We stayed at the Stratosphere Hotel, which is the tallest place up in Las Vegas, the very top. So I got a photo up there, and I said, "See you at the top." Made a Christmas post about it. We went to the gun range on let's see, the 24th, the day before Christmas. Shot guns out there, exercising our Second Amendment rights. And another tourist blew up a bomb at the gun range. So you can actually take this explosive device, they put it inside of a car, and then the tourist shot the freaking car with a machine gun and blew the whole thing up right there at the gun range. And so, we shot machine guns, we shot pistols, AK-47s. It was super fun to just be a part of that with a bunch of other tourists. And we just walked around Las Vegas as tourists do. And, we had some amazing food at the steak, basically the Galpo Brazilian Steakhouse. We had the Bellagio buffet, which was terrible in my opinion, but they liked it. They kicked us out early. I didn't get to finish. And the hotel was good though. The Strat was good. They got really cool view, really nice views up top on the very top of it. And the weather was phenomenal. Basically in t-shirts the whole time. We didn't even need a jacket. So, yeah, the story of the Chinese fugitive making it out, escaping safely away from the corrupt Chinese cops who just wanted nothing more than his Bitcoin. So hit the ones. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My little Christmas Las Vegas story with a fugitive from China that actually escaped. All right. I'll see you at the top. This is Gavin.